Hello, I'm Amy Bell. We take pride in our city. This is our Vancouver. Coming up, an Uber driver's perfect pitch, and a little dollop of BC in every bite. But first, new queens for an old town. A landmark building along the Sea to Sky Highway is turning 100 years old this year. The Britannia Mine Museum holds a century of the area's mining history, and soon it will hold one of the area's biggest and most colorful bashes. Old Town New Queens is the signature event to mark Pride Month in Squamish, and organizers Derek Jang and Sativa the Diva are here to tell us more. So, Derek, what is Old Town's New Queens?
Well, Old Town New Queens is a pride celebration that takes place inside that historic mill building. And I really feel like the germ for this event began when I first interviewed at the Mine Museum in the fall of 2020.
Okay.
So this was, of course, a pretty tough time for a lot of us. Lockdowns, restrictions, hard to get FaceTime, and especially for us LGBTQ plus folks, hard to get time with our chosen families.
Yeah.
And I remember walking into that building and thinking to myself, I should be focused on industrial history or the machinery that was in here. But all I could think was, it's like walking into a music video. It's Janet Jackson, Rhythm Nation. It's Madonna, Express Yourself.
Yeah.
When the world is ready for it, I know exactly what we're gonna do here.
This is what we need. Do you think is the world ready? Like how has the town sort of responded to this event and to everything that's gonna be going on?
Well, I think that it's been really exciting to surprise people because when you hear mining, when you hear a relatively small, kind of further from the city's community, you don't often think about the level of sparkle that we were able to deliver.
And you are bringing
just a little bit of sparkle today.
I'd like to acknowledge that. What do you think, though, sir, both of you, what do you think this will bring to the town of Squamish? What can this do other than the obvious?
I think anytime that we can create space in smaller towns throughout BC or throughout Canada, anytime that we can kind of create space that is inclusive for everyone and where people can come and just celebrate being yourself and being fierce and incredible and having that kind of that excitement and that body positivity is really cool. And so I think for Squamish, it's so needed and definitely adds so much to the community.
And how did you get involved? So tell us about your involvement and, tell us about Sativa the Diva.
Absolutely. So I started doing drag right before COVID happened.
Okay.
I was working on an event, a charity event. So in Squamish, there hadn't really been any drag queens that had popped up. I'd lived there for quite a few years. And so I decided, after working with Pride Squamish for quite a while, that we needed some drag here in Squamish, and it was a perfect way to kind of like get into it. And then COVID hit, so I had lots of time to practice and kind of decide what works for me and what I want to do and how I want to curate myself into a performer. And then as soon as COVID was done, we were all for it, right back into it, and trying to do as much as possible. And so it's now been about 2 years, and we're hosting all the events in Squamish. It's been lots.
Oh, I love that. And so what can we expect at the show? What are we going to see, Derek?
The
unexpected.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Minds will be blown.
Well, absolutely. And I really feel like our museum talks about industrial history, technology, these subject matters that we think of as having a really hard, masculine edge. I love being able to turn that energy on its head and reinterpret it through pop songs that we know and love, through dance numbers, through amazing costumes and makeup, and just bring the community together to tell the story of the 100 years of the mill in maybe a little campier and maybe more of a silly way than we might in our normal day-to-day underground tours.
Oh, I love that. And who are some of the other performers that people will be able to see there? Who's going to be joining you on stage or doing their own performances?
We have 8 other performers with us this year, which is incredible. Last year we had 3 others besides myself.
Oh, wow.
And so it's definitely getting bigger this year for sure. We've got acts like Homo Hardware. We've got Dust Queen. Who else we got, Derek?
Joining us from the amazing East Van, Vancouver scene, we've got Belladonna Von Shade, Dolly, Pia Little,
Nice.
love that name, as well as Flem Fatale. I'm really excited
Another
to see what
good
they bring to the
one.
table.
Nice.
And also joining us from Squamish, we've got Made in Wonderland, representing for the Tantalus Collective.
Which is really exciting. It's a small group with Quest University that has been created over the last few years, where students and individuals at the school are able to kind of learn drag and perform, which is a really cool thing.
Oh, I love that. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is a very quiet state affair, or will it be going all into the night?
Well, this is going to be an event that runs until about 9:30 p.m. if all
Okay.
goes according to plan.
Okay.
It is going to be a dry event. We feel that it's important to have some spaces where all members of the family can feel
Absolutely.
safe coming out to participate and
Absolutely.
enjoy. But I think it's still absolutely going to be making a lot of noise. Last year, the
sure.
vibe was so amazing to see people coming out, celebrating, and just really changing the energy that you would typically find at a museum.
Oh, and I'm sure people will want to be going now to see you guys. So how do they get tickets?
absolutely.
How do they get there?
You can check out our website, britanniaminemuseum.ca. Our recommendation is to reserve tickets online, as it's possible the event may sell out. And all the details can be found on that website, as well as some links to our fabulous cast list.
And if you want a quicker way, you can just follow me on Instagram, Sativa the Diva, and the link is in the bio.
Or at
Wonderful.
Britannia Mine Museum on all platforms.
No excuse. They know how to find you. Thank you so much both for coming in. You're just amazing guests. So I really
thank
appreciate it.
you.
And good luck with the event.
Thank you so much for having us, Amy.
Hi, my name's Tatiana. I'm at the Stanley Park Tennis Courts, and this is our Vancouver.
June is also Indigenous History Month, but for the Squamish Nation, this year is particularly special. It is also set to celebrate 100 years since it was born from a historic merger. The 1923 amalgamation is revered as a watershed moment and a source of pride that has inspired generations.
It's a huge day for Squamish Ochomeo, which is our Squamish Nation community.
As National Indigenous History Month kicks off, Squamish Nation remembers the very day a century ago that their ancestors formally joined together. They call it Amalgamation Day. In July 1923, dozens of Squamish leaders stood at Indian Affairs in Vancouver, some holding thick briefcases, as they met with notorious department head Duncan Campbell Scott. Ottawa recognized their merger of 16 Squamish villages into one body, today's Squamish Nation.
You know, I grew up listening and hearing about the stories of the amalgamation from my late grandfather, and we have come such a long way in a short time, in 100 years.
10 years earlier, residents of the Squamish village in what is today's Kitsilano neighborhood were forced out, as their homes were burned down. Squamish Nation now has those lands back, where they're building a major housing project. They broke ground at an event with the Prime Minister last fall.
We've been beat up so much, there's a cliff. More families wouldn't have not have survived. But at the same time, this unity we talk of really embraced us and protected our culture, our traditions, our language. It protected our oral history.
The nation plans to mark Amalgamation Day with a month of public celebrations on the North Shore in July.
You know, it's really about coming together like we did for amalgamation and really signifying that, timeline to continue the hope forward to another 100 years. And I'm excited to bring my children.
Events planned include canoe races, live concerts, youth lacrosse games, and ceremonies, open to all of any generation. David Ball, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC actor Grace Dove says she experienced both heaviness and healing while shooting the new period drama Bones and Crows. The film, recently released, explores the intergenerational trauma of Canada's residential schools. Dove spoke with the CBC about her emotional connection to the role.
His Excellency would like to ask if any of the residential school survivors would like to take this opportunity to be heard by His Holiness.
My mother would like to speak in her language.
In some weird way, I really believe I became an actor and a storyteller to share hard stories. I mean, at the beginning, I thought it would be fun. I thought acting would be, you get to fly around and do these light things and this isn't real. But the reality is, after a decade in the industry, it is real. And every role that I do, I have to bring a piece of me. And especially when it comes to Indigenous representation, when it comes to Indigenous films, this is my story, this is my family's story. So there is so much heaviness to it. But that being said, it still is storytelling. It still is sharing my ancestors' past. So there is a lot of heaviness to it, but also it's so healing. And I think that every role I do, it really brings out what I need to almost let go in a way.
We've been training all our lives. There is no way that we are going to give up.
I think every family probably has trauma. I mean, but of course, every single one of us as young Indigenous peoples are survivors of the residential school system. So, and it's not something that is so far in the past either, right? The story we were filming in Tk'emlúps in Squamish, which is my territory, when 215 bodies of children were discovered, and those are my relatives. So, of course, it's so close. It's so close, it's uncomfortable.
When things are too good, I'm just scared that things will be taken away.
I want my children home where they should be.
It's the law, Matthew. You'd go to jail if you don't sign.
There's a time and place for films about love, about a rom-com, and we will see that. And I hope for more of that we have more light Indigenous cinema. But we can't do that yet until the truth is out there.
We have 324 students that will keep them in a state of malnutrition.
And if you want to motivate the Indian, you must starve him.
The most important message that I took away is what happens, to you and how you deal with those adversities is going to last for, we say, 7 generations. So it really shows the impact generation by generation, and I think that's what the series is really going to delve into.
So many of you take amazing photographs in our beautiful province, and we always feature a few of the ones we receive each week. First, our regular contributor, Richard Topping, was the early bird to this scene, but it looks like the robin was the one to take off with all the worms. An amazing shot, Richard, and thank you so much. And Yamar Mohagig sent us this lovely picture of last weekend's strawberry moon over Coquitlam. It's just beautiful. Finally, Sylvester Law captured this unbelievable image of what looks like a Game of Thrones scene, but in this case, Daenerys Targaryen is a blackbird and Drogon is a bald eagle over Burnaby Lake. Just amazing. We couldn't possibly include all your beautiful photos, but keep them coming. You can email them to bcphotos@cbc.ca. That's bcphotos@cbc.ca. And we're getting well into spring here in Vancouver, and that might mean spending the day at the beach, maybe strolling along the seawall, possibly being dive-bombed by angry crows. And as we found out, it's a frightening ritual for sure, but it's just crow parents guarding their babies. Take a look.
The faces say it all. It's crow attack season. All over the Lower Mainland, people are getting swooped, swiped, dive-bombed. They're getting beaked up and they're beaking off.
It was so intense. I was terrified. Yeah, they just dived down, got the back of my neck, and then his wings were flapping in my hair.
All over the city and beyond, the website Crow Tracks is recording dozens of attacks.
In the past couple of days, the crow attacks have been peaking. And they started about a month ago, but just in the past few days, it's really picked up. So those crows are busy out there.
All this corvid carnage might remind you of a horror film.
Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, in color.
But it's actually a story of passerine parenting. Turns out crows are the ultimate helicopter parents, vigilant, defensive, and commanding the sky.
I think right now they're very worried parents because this nesting season is a very vulnerable time for them and their babies. While they're on the ground right now, learning how to fly, they're kind of hopping around. They're trying to warn people off and trying to prevent any type of danger to their little ones. So they'll often swoop down, they'll fly very close, they may even brush the back of your head, but they're really just trying to stay away.
They're even buzzing crow fans like Erin.
I'm thinking about it from their perspective. As an anxious parent, they're repeatedly telling me to stay away from their babies, and I keep coming back.
And while lots of innocent passers-by are seen as threats, there are risks to these fledglings.
They're easily, picked up by cats. Dogs will grab them, give them a good shake. Sometimes they'll hop out into traffic and, get clipped by a car or even stepped on sometimes.
The Wildlife Rescue Association in Burnaby is hand-raising some of those unfortunates.
So they do spend quite a long time with us. Because crows are so intelligent, they learn a lot from their parents, which means that they're more difficult for a rehabilitator to care for. We have to be very careful about making sure that our faces and everything are covered when we go in so that they don't associate people with food.
So if you're in the crosshairs of these protective parents, the advice is to change your habits to stay away from nesting spots, or carry an umbrella, and have a bit of sympathy for these poor crows. Anyone raising little ones will tell you that parenting is murder. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Coming up, where there's smoke, there's fire. Johanna Wagstaff shows us the science behind smoke prediction models.
I walked out, felt something in the back of my throat, and I see the haziness. I'm like, okay, I thought there was like a fire nearby.
Our site's right there, and it's filling up the building.
I'm trying to get a little bit of fresh air before if it gets worse, because I know it can, and stay like this if there's no wind.
Smoke from wildfires is a major source of air pollution for Canadians, and one that is getting worse with climate change as our wildfire seasons get longer and our summers hotter and drier. During a wildfire, smoke conditions can change quickly over short distances and can vary considerably hour by hour. Even though wildfire smoke is a natural part of our environment, exposure can still be harmful to our health, especially for people with pre-existing health conditions, including COVID-19, older adults, pregnant women, and infants and children. One great tool available for Canadians is the Air Quality Health Index. It's a scale that measures the air quality in relation to your health on a scale from 1 to 10. The higher the number, the greater the health risk. Of course, factors other than wildfire smoke can lead to poor air quality since it measures ozone at ground level, particulate matter, and nitrogen dioxide. But this tool is designed to help you make decisions to protect your health by limiting short-term exposure to air pollution, including on smoky days just like this. So how do officials and forecasters help track the smoke and warn the public? Well, there are a number of different forecast models that can project the smoke plumes. They take into account where the current wildfires are and how much emissions they're expected to produce. That information comes from Natural Resources Canada's Wildfire Information System, where we actually have information on how much fuel, or trees and brush if you like, is available in an area to actually burn. Then the forecast models look at how far into the atmosphere the smoke will rise and where the winds at different levels will carry the smoke. If smoke makes it all the way up into the jet stream, smoke can be carried all the way across the country, from fires burning in British Columbia to the Great Lakes and even across the Pacific. Wildfire smoke forecast maps are available through the Government of Canada's Firework system. Firework is an air quality prediction system that indicates how smoke from wildfires is expected to move across North America over the next 48 hours. Our forecasting abilities are getting better and better as we tap into more current conditions and fine-tune the variables that go into the weather models. So stay tuned. And now, you're Science Smart. If you have a science question on your mind, send me a tweet. I'll try to get it answered.
Thanks, Johanna, and welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Amy Bell. Well, there's a new kid on the block in Richmond's restaurant scene. It's a Pacific Northwest-inspired contemporary dining experience. It's called Acres Through the Seasons, and as the name suggests, the menu items change through the seasons. Executive Chef Will Lew is here to share some of the plates with us. So hello, Will.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. You're not really a new kid on the block, though. You have a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's been almost 20 years, actually.
All right, so what's your background? Where have you been before this?
Lots of places, most notably Fairmont, Pac Rim, and also Hotel Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
And then my favorite was actually being the exec chef of Oceanwise.
Oh, wow.
So that was a dream come true because I have a biology background of all things.
Biologist, chef, and the Michelin-starred restaurant as well, the Duck House, the Beijing Duck House.
Yeah,
there.
yeah, that was a great experience. So it just that also helped catalyze the fact that we want to celebrate our own culture and remember where we came from.
And your family has quite a rich history in the restaurant background. So tell me more about that with your grandfather, I believe.
My grandfather was a chef in Chinatown, and I grew up every weekend sort of cooking with him. I didn't play games or Lego or nothing. I just I just wanted to watch them cook and ask how it's made and try my best to copy it.
And and how close were you with your grandfather? And
he taught me everything to do with art. I think he drew out the artisticness of what I wanted to become.
Okay, and sorry, what was the restaurant that he was
He was a chef of a restaurant called Ho Ho's in Chinatown, and it's actually interesting that it's gonna start reopening again. Like Carol Lee in Chinatown, she's opening this restaurant, and it's kind of interesting to sort of almost like relive my past, because I remember my grandfather bringing me down to the kitchen.
Wow.
When I didn't even realize what a kitchen looked like.
It's kind of a full circle moment.
Yeah.
All right, so what have you brought for us today?
Okay.
It looks incredible. It smells incredible. I'm very anxious to see what you've got. So tell us sort of about the concept of Acres Through the Seasons.
One thing that we're really lucky with is we have our own farm. It's on Cortez Island.
Okay.
It's predominantly a lavender farm, so you can see the lavender everywhere.
That's what I'm smelling. It's incredible.
But we've also built a bunch of greenhouses and cleared a bunch of space to make our farm.
Okay.
It's surrounded by forest, and then the front area is like all ocean. So everything you see here is foraged from there or brought from there.
Wow.
And so it's just really nice to actually have that farm-to-table aspect that's truly our own.
That's
so
incredible.
Acre is the name of the farm, Acre Lavande, which is acre of lavender, and that's why we want to call our restaurant Acre.
I love that. So what exactly are we going to be sort of seeing or tasting today? There's so much. It looks incredible.
There's 4 dishes within this foraging aspect here.
Okay.
I think one thing is the menu does change, like you said, throughout the seasons.
Right.
So this is going to be our vineyards, farm, obviously our farm and all the other farms around us, and then harvest. So any of the producers, the cheesemakers, anyone producing and creating for us.
Okay.
So the 4 things we're going to make today, I think you're going to help me make some.
I am.
So
You're gonna put me to work.
Yeah. The first thing, we're going to build 2 together, and we'll build the rest. Just you can place it there.
Okay.
But the first one, I just want you to find a leaf.
Okay.
An edible leaf somewhere
So
along
I'm gonna
here.
forage.
You're going to forage.
Okay. So.
Yeah, you got it. So we're going to place it somewhere where we can work from.
Okay.
And then this one is going to be a little beet leaf here, and I want you to just squeeze a little bit of foie gras down the middle, just in the middle.
Just a little bit?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
Or however much you want to eat.
How's
that looks perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Like a pro.
Yeah. And next, this is a little bit of rosé and rhubarb gel. So just put like a dollop here and a dollop there.
Okay.
A little bit more.
More of a dollop?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I've got to get my terminology better.
That's perfect. And then some fresh macerated strawberries, just on top of the foie gras.
Okay.
And I'll help you.
Thank you.
That's perfect.
Okay. I'm just going to show this.
Yeah,
so
and we're
people
gonna
can
still
see.
garnish it after.
Okay.
So for you, I think I'll let you pick the colors, but I'll put the baseline on there first for you. And these are all from our farm or from one of the people we used to work with who grows all the local flowers and microgreens for us.
Oh, wow.
Which flower would you like on there?
Oh, okay. I'm kind of liking this color.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's gonna represent lavender.
Nice. Go with the theme.
And there you go. And to replace this leaf here, gently, hopefully it doesn't fall off, but maybe I can do it for you.
Okay. It's so pretty.
Yeah. So this one's gonna live here, and when you eat it, and you can forage it off there. But the last step is just take a little bit of this English lavender that we've dried ourselves, and then just sprinkle it on top.
Okay. Do I? Oh.
Yeah.
Gotta have that.
Done.
Done. Okay.
Perfect.
Not too much.
All right. The last one you're gonna make is gonna be an egg tartlet.
Okay.
So this one is eggs, and eggs. So caviar, Tabiko, yuzu Tabiko. We have trout caviar, as well as just like a deviled egg mix on the base.
Okay.
And this is a brick phyllo tartlet.
Wow. And this is your house brand caviar.
Yeah, it's our house brand caviar. So it's called Royal Caviar Club. So we have the rights to that. But what would be nice is you feel free to put as much caviar on yours as you like.
You maybe don't want to say that. No, I will.
No, this is all for you. So you can take a spoon.
I'll see you guys later.
Yeah, and put it on this tart here.
How's that? I don't want to seem too greedy.
Yeah, and I will help you with this.
Thank you.
You can put I'll put a little bit more for you.
Okay, thank you.
We feel generous.
And this is sort of tying into the farm issue with the eggs, and then we've got the flowers and all of the fresh leaves. It's incredible. It's just so cohesive.
We want to just tie in, like every series is going to have a different meaning and a different purpose.
Yeah.
But this one specifically, like I said, we just want to celebrate what is farmed, and it could be from seafood, it can be from kelp, it can be from anything. We didn't bring all the ocean stuff today,
right?
But obviously, there's so much that we want to perpetuate for the food systems that we have to actually have enough for us to enjoy.
All right, should we get into a taste test?
Yeah.
Let's.
So this one, I just want to garnish a little bit more for you.
It's all about the garnish. That's what I always forget.
And then this now is all you need to do is place it in the nest, because this is all about eggs.
Of course.
So the eggs will live in the nest.
And this is how it will get served.
Yeah, this is an iteration. So you're helping us create it right now, because as we're going with this, depending what we actually get, this is the iterations that we want to start with.
Oh, okay.
And as the seasons progress, we'll continue to change what we get
and
to keep it
will
fresh.
go with the season,
Yeah.
so summer, spring, and all of that. That's incredible.
And then there's 2 more things to put on. This is the spot prawn tostada. So obviously right now it's spot prawn season.
Exactly, and people go crazy for that.
Yeah, and it's just such a sustainable, delicious thing that we want to make sure that we're celebrating it.
Now, when you are cooking for your friends and family, I'm assuming this is how you do it? Lots of flour garnishes, or when you're off the clock, do you just say no? You guys have a bag of chips.
I think depends how creative we want to be.
Fair enough.
And if we want to play with food, we do this. And if we want to just enjoy something simple and like just put a barbecue on or something, then we do that. And I think that's what's so special about cooking, because it creates the emotion that we want to portray.
Right. And of course, we want people to find you. So where is the restaurant located?
It's in Richmond, right in front of the Richmond Night Market.
Okay.
Very close to the airport.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Last thing before you taste test is this a little donut, but done with roti, and then local Neuchâtel cheese from Golden Ears.
Gorgeous.
And finished with some fresh truffle.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna dive into the little donut if that's okay.
All right. Of course.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Our pleasure.
Okay. Here we go. Incredible. That's delicious.
Thank you. And basically, if you want to, you can forage your leaf and enjoy that as your dessert.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jens from Denmark. You're watching our Vancouver.
When it comes to cooking, you know some recipes are easier than others. But imagine if you're neurodiverse or live with a disability. A Duncan man has created a cookbook for just that. We went up island to see what was cooking.
Hello, my name is Jules Sherrod. I'm an award-winning food photographer and stylist and cookbook author and advocate for disability and trans rights. My new cookbook is called Crip Up the Kitchen: Tools, Tips, and Recipes for the Disabled Cook. Because I am disabled and I was having a really hard time finding tools and tips and recipes that were actually by a disabled person for a disabled person that actually worked. Everything out there was written by able people, and none of them worked for me, and none of them worked for my friends who are also disabled. There's 3 sections in the book. The first section has tools that I recommend that you equip your kitchen with, including pricing so that people can prioritize what they need for the kitchen based on their financial means. The second section is tips, and it has everything from how to organize your kitchen and your pantry so it's the most efficient and save time. Yeah, and in a way that's not typical. I look at it at like a month instead of a week. And then the recipe section, which is 50 recipes, organized from the least amount of time and effort it takes to make them all the way to it require every single ounce of energy you have. And then when we get to the steps are really broken down. So it's like 1 step per step instead of the usual, where it's like 1 step, but there's 10 different steps hidden within that 1 step. All of the ingredients are broken up so that you don't get surprised with a step that you didn't prepare for in the recipe. So it just really simplifies the process so that it's just really like they don't have to do any extra thinking. They just have to sit down with the cookbook, and they are more likely to succeed rather than fail.
Coming in, let me
If you want to go see some live music, British superstar singer Seal plays at the Orpheum Theatre June 14th. And Canadian rockers, dating all the way back to 1969, April Wine plays the Commodore Ballroom on June 16th.
Hey, Grant Lawrence from CBC Music here with some huge news for Canadian musicians with big aspirations. Searchlight is back. That's our long-running yearly hunt for Canada's best breakthrough musical talent, like, say, these past winners who have all broken through in many different ways. There you go. Those are some of our fabulous former winners of Searchlight, all of whom have gone on to win or be nominated for all sorts of other music awards. This year, Searchlight is back with a few changes. The contest is now running through the summer. There will be no public voting this year. All decisions on the musicians who move forward in the contest will be made by the producers of CBC Music and our judges. The entry period to submit your best original song begins on Monday, June 19th, and the winners will be announced later in August. And yes, I said winners. I'll share what you can win in a moment, but first, here's last year's Searchlight Grand Prize winner, Chad Price.
I just want to make the most of this life. Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing it right. Everyone's a little broken sometimes, and that's fine. I don't want to spend the rest of my days worrying about the things I can't change. Everything is gonna make sense one day. We'll make it through somehow, some way.
Whoa, that is Chad Price from London, Ontario, with his winning song, Somehow, Someway, from last year, which blew us away. It took the grand prize. This year, our Searchlight Grand Prize includes a trip to the 2024 Juno Awards, a 5-day recording residency at Studio Bell at the National Music Centre in Calgary, a placement in the Alan Slate Juno Masterclass in Toronto, distribution and promotion for your original song or album from Yangaroo, and $1,000 in new music gear. Also brand new this year, Searchlight will have prizes for the top teen, the Outstanding Indigenous Artist, a Songwriting Prize, and the Outstanding Country Artist. Each of those winners will receive a $1,000 gift certificate from Long & McQuaid and a mentoring session with Canada's Music Incubator. So right now, it's all about getting your best original song of any genre into Searchlight 2023, starting on Monday, June 19th. The entry period closes on July 6th. All details can be found at cbc.ca/searchlight. I'm Grant Lawrence from CBC Music. Good luck.
Coming up, an Uber driver gets his pitch perfect. Welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Amy Bell. Our afternoon show On the Coast recently asked their listeners to pitch an original film or TV show idea. One of the callers not only heard his pitch played and discussed on the radio, but also inadvertently captured his own reaction on tape. Here's Gloria Makarenko now with that story.
Okay, pitch number 2, 2 immigrants who work in a furniture warehouse. Let's hear this one.
The TV show is based on 2 migrants who recently moved from India to Vancouver. If they work in a furniture warehouse for now, They dreamed of opening up a restaurant together since their hospitality study days, only to be shut down by realtors because they're a new concept and not a chain of restaurants. It's based on ongoing true events. It's my friends and my story.
Now, the reason I like this is it has characters. It comes from a place of authenticity.
Yes.
This is this person's story, which gives it so many legs.
Yes. Yeah, that just sounds like a show I want to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And soon after our conversation, he got a call from his wife and shared his happiness.
Oh no! Guys, they're talking about my pitch on radio.
So that was Indiraj Gill. He's an Uber driver who gave us that great pitch for a TV show. So he's not in his car listening right now because he's here in studio with us now. Indiraj, hello. It's so nice to meet you.
Hi, Gloria. This is unbelievable. I'm still pinching myself.
So you were listening to the show. We're putting the call out for pitches. What did you say? Yeah, I want to do this. I got an idea for a TV show.
This was actually in the making. And then you guys came along with this pitch perfect idea. I already had it in my mind. I just wrote it down on my iPad because you said that it had to be in 30 seconds.
Right.
So I realized there was a huge gap, with Indian food and convenience and healthy. So that's the idea of the restaurant.
Please check back with us. We want to follow this one through.
Of course
really.
I will.
And in the meantime, Indiraj, we have an On the Coast sweatshirt for you as well. Okay.
I'm going to rock this sweatshirt for sure.
Thank you for coming in. What a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me here, Gloria. Thank you.
Silent Movie Mondays are back at the Orpheum Theatre. Popular silent films are accompanied by dramatic music played live on the theatre's historic Wurlitzer organ. And as we found out, it's the last theatre organ in Canada still performing in its original home.
Monday night, we have our second installment of Silent Movie Mondays, which is a celebration of the history of Vancouver, the wonderful mighty Wurlitzer organ, which is home here in the Orpheum Theatre. It would have been a really exciting time. Patrons would have entered off the grand entrance on Granville Street and came into the theater. A lot of people back then would just really dress up for the night, and it would be a great night out on the town.
She's still holding together. The city revitalized it in time for its 90th 5 years ago, and it's where you get the phrase, all the bells and whistles, because it comes with bells and whistles.
What are we looking at? How many buttons and knobs and all kinds of things like that?
At Command Central, we've got 3 keyboards for the hand and 1 for the feet, and they're controlled with all these color-coded tabs here with names and numbers indicating how high it'll be. So if I hold down a key, a full variety of different colors that I can start mixing together just as an artist would as they're painting on a canvas.
And where did the idea for this event come from?
Back in 2017, we celebrated the 90th anniversary of the Orpheum. And we did a silent movie feature in sort of a vaudeville-themed event that was sold out. And the audience loved it. So we thought, we have to bring this back. We have to get people back in the Orpheum to celebrate the instrument, to celebrate that art form.
Wow.
Coming up, a safer, more sustainable way to enjoy BC's beautiful outdoors. Welcome back to Our Vancouver. I'm Amy Bell. Whether you're a hiker, backcountry camper, or enjoy just sitting in front of a lake, summer is the time to be outdoors in BC. But when everyone has the same idea, it can be difficult to preserve its pristine beauty. BC Today's Michelle Elliott picked up some helpful tips from a couple of outdoor educators.
to try and find their way. And Brent, you're a trail builder, right? How important is it to respect the trails, and what are people doing that maybe perhaps is not treating them kindly?
Yeah, I think trails are meant to be utilized, and the frustrating thing, and one of my hats that I have as a trail builder is when I see people not using a trail that's there. Bushwhacking and going on adventures off trail is totally fine, but if you're traveling the same direction as a trail, then we want you to stay on that trail and don't cut the corners. It's very important to just use the trail that's there.
Yes, that is common, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
so when you see that there are a lot of people, and I know you were saying that really it's only 1% that may not be respectful. I mean, what does that mean to not be respectful of nature when we're out?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things that can harm our environments out there. We definitely see habituated bears being a real problem.
Yeah.
And a great example of that is Garibaldi Park had a number of their campgrounds shut down last year because of habituated bears.
I remember that.
It unfortunately kind of snowballs as well. So once you shut down one campground, people then go to the other campground and that gets busier. And then the chances of a bear getting habituated there increases. So in the backcountry, we have this huge snowballing effect. And, Garibaldi, just around Garibaldi Lake, there's 4 campgrounds and 2 of them were shut down last year. So that just puts added pressure on other campgrounds.
Yeah.
Helm Creek had a bear that was becoming habituated as well. And so, we just can't be concentrating all these efforts on these sites.
And just to add to what Brett was saying about sometimes it's even good to try to not leave footprints. So yeah, just try to think about, why are you going out there? I think a lot of people are going out because they want to connect with nature and build that relationship. And so it does take a little bit of thoughtfulness and awareness on all our parts to sort of understand what our impacts can be and just make sure that we're trying to reduce that. And sometimes that means not going off trail, especially in more sensitive areas. And that might be totally fine out in a more sort of wild setting, but definitely takes our due diligence to know where we are and how we need to behave in those places.
Yeah, and is trash a problem?
Yeah, unfortunately, I see that a lot at some of the campgrounds in the backcountry, and I try to hike as much of it out as I can with some of my students. But we've had situations where it would fill an entire backpack of how much garbage that we find in some of those backcountry campgrounds, and it's unfortunate. It's a simple pack it in, pack it out rule, and some people struggle with it, I guess.
Yeah, and is it a matter of education? Do you think there needs to be some enforcement, or?
Well, I think a combination of the two is definitely important. We've seen, funding kind of get cut from BC Parks over the years, and they really haven't been able to keep up with the demand. So that enforcement isn't there, and there's also that need for education, and it's challenging for folks like myself who are out there trying to teach as many people as possible. We struggle to get out there sometimes and teach, and we're working around a whole permitting system to get out there and operate in those places, and that can be a real challenge to even get those permits. So we're almost struggling to try to do all the education ourselves.
Right, catching up. And then you're also carrying out other people's garbage, apparently. So you're very busy.
If it doesn't come from the environment, we don't have bananas here in BC growing naturally, so we shouldn't be leaving banana peels behind. And that's kind of a good general rule. Dog waste is a huge one that needs to come out and be dealt with at home.
At the end of this program, we like to tip our hats to our talented photojournalists on staff at CBC Vancouver. They bring us images in their artful way to give depth and deep character to the stories we cover. Here is a sampling from what they saw this past week. And that's all for our Vancouver this week. Bye for now.